Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. Like always, I'm your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by all three of the boys today, Kyle, Matt, and Thacker. And today we're doing an episode that we have not done in over 2.5 years of Side Mission. We are bringing you our top 5 worst games of 2022. So boys, this was, I would like to say this was a hard list, but to be honest, we all kind of had a lot of the same games on it, so I think that we all really kind of believed the same thing. We were, for anyone that's confused by this episode, we were planning on doing this as a part of our top 10 games of the year and kind of adding that into that episode, but that episode's already going to be over an hour long, and you don't want to hear us get mad at games again when we're trying to be happy. So, fellas, are you all ready to hear what our top 5 worst games of the year are?
Yes, I am.
Let's do it.
So, just so everybody knows what happened, I had all of the boys send me individually their personal top 5 least favorite games of the year. The number 1 spot on each list got 5 points, number 2 got 4 points, and so on and so forth. The games with the most points are obviously the ones that made the list, because obviously if you put a game as number 1, it means you're saying that's your least favorite game of the year. So, I can tell you right now, the difference between the first and second games on the list, 1 point. 1 point separated game. 1 point separated our second worst game of the year from our first. That's kind of crazy to me. And I think everybody that's listening kind of has an idea of what those two games are. So let's go ahead and dive right in. First, just like with the top 10 games of the year, we have got a couple games that received votes but did not make the list. Receiving 1 point was Gran Turismo 7. 1 singular point. And I'm going to go ahead and hoe him. Thacker's the one that put it on his list. Even though nobody else played that game, I have no idea why that was on his list. But here we are.
Yep, I did. I did indeed.
Up next was a game that, in retrospect, was a game that only Kyle and I had on our list. We both put it at the 5th spot on our list. And it was KO the Kangaroo.
That was disappointing.
That game was so fucking bad. Just terrible writing, terrible platforming, bad across the board. And then, just in case y'all weren't done with Thacker yet, we have another reason to hoe him, because this is the last game in this category, and it's actually the game that got the closest to making it on the list. Would have been boring because none of us could talk about it outside of him, and that is Dragon Ball Z Breakers. I don't even have anything to say about that game because I didn't play it at all. So I have no. Thacker put it at 3rd on his list.
Anime games.
Anime games, man, they fucking suck. Anyways,
Anime games are bad.
here we go with the full list. Coming in at number 5. It's our only Switch game on the list. Kyle's about to punch air. Kyle's punching air. What is it? Is it Mario Strikers? Is it Xenoblade 3? Hell no. It is Nintendo Switch Sports at number 5. Matt, you, thank God, put this game high enough on your least favorite list to where it beat out Dragon Ball Z Breakers. And thank God you did, because we all played that game so we can all at least talk about it.
Thank you, Matt. I don't want to be the only one talking about a game now.
So, Matt, you actually put this game, this was your second least favorite game of the year.
Yeah, because it was absolutely one of the most lazy releases I have ever seen from Nintendo.
Yeah.
And this reoccurring drip-feeding theme that Nintendo's been doing with gaming, with sports-themed games is just absolutely dreadful. Did we not literally just get golf this month?
We literally did, yeah.
And Switch Sports came out in the summer.
Yeah.
And we have no idea when the next update for this game is going to be. This game had a lack of online capabilities. I know you're the only person I played this game with online, and it wasn't fun.
It wasn't at all.
I played this game with people in person, and it just wasn't fun. It didn't capture the spirit that I got on launch night with the Wii when Wii Sports came out. It had none of that. Not the bowling, not the what, badminton. Is it badminton even in it?
Badminton was not in Wii Sports. But badminton was in this game. It was.
That's the one I'm talking about in this game. Like, it did not compare to how tennis was a lot of fun in Wii Sports.
Yeah, I agree.
I also didn't like the fact that the only way to get any customization items for your basic ass Mii, like, these are not Miis. These are these creepy, like, Uncanny Valley lookalikes that are trying to overtake the Miis, and it's not working. And I didn't like that you had to complete these weekly challenges that were boring. Sorry. To get all of these points and spend all of this time. Like, that's the only reason why I played this game, is because I wanted to complete, like, these little passes to get, like, emotes and different colored, like, equipment. And it just did not push me to keep playing it, and I really got bored with it.
You're telling me you're telling me Switch Sports has a battle pass?
It kind of does, yeah. It really kind of
That's fucking disgusting.
It indeed does, Kyle.
Well, Kyle, here's the thing. You're the biggest Nintendo fan out there, bro. Tell me what you thought about this game.
So, honestly, this game had the word Nintendo written on it, and I was like, yeah, I'm not buying that. And that was my experience of the game.
You better return that Switch to GameStop as soon as possible.
I don't have a Switch.
He said, "I don't have a Switch." That's
you better take your wife's Switch back to GameStop.
Oh
my freaking god! Okay,
I hide the Switch out of embarrassment.
You got now. Listen. If Taylor can't get her Animal Crossing fix in, you might die. So I hope you don't steal her Switch from her. So we got to be careful about that.
We'll put you on a ban list at GameStop. Don't worry.
So from Switch Sports, we head down to our number 4 spot, and fellas, I almost can't believe that this game is this low. It's a game that we all disliked, at least all of us that played it. All of us that were able to play it. We all disliked it for several reasons. Coming in at number 4, just a measly 2 points ahead of Switch Sports, it's Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights. More like Gotham Shites. Yeah, needless to say, this game was absolutely fucking abysmal. The combat was terrible. The story wasn't that good. The game didn't look all that great. The gliders were just a slap in the face. I could go on and on and on about things that didn't work in this game. Thacker, we played a lot of this game together. Even co-op really didn't save it. And spoiler alert, co-op failed to save other games on this list as well.
Yep, this game was abysmal. Even in the fun, I call it fun.
Quote unquote fun.
I'm lying my ass off now. The quote unquote fun that is co-op in this game is interesting to say at best. I can't really call it fun as it doesn't exactly work, and the frame rate just really doesn't even want to make it work itself.
Yeah, the frame rate, the performance in this game, this is an example of it just being, like, performance is not always everything, but it can really help games that struggle. I look at a game like Plague Tale Requiem, and that game would have been amazing if it was at 60 FPS, but it being at 30 FPS didn't hinder it because the rest of the game was good. A lot of this game, there's just so many weird design choices. Making characters like Lucius Fox and the Penguin, making those kind of characters just stationary quest givers, kind of a slap in the face to those characters that are important in Batman mythology. So I think that's not good. I hated the mission structure. I was never a fan of that as well. And to be honest, Kyle, we talked about this. The ending, man. It's the ending of the story is the biggest slap in the face to the rest of the game.
The ending was so dumb. They brought Batman back, and they were like, "Now you gotta fight him." And then, you brought him out of Talia's control, and Batman was like, "You've been saving the city without me the whole time. I'm going back to hell." He just kills himself. I was like, what the fuck was that ending?
There was no point.
He literally pile drives the Batmobile into the ground, and not the Batmobile, the Batwing into the ground, and I was like, you could have just put it on autopilot and got out of there, right? Like, you didn't have to do that.
The number one thing I said was that I didn't want Batman hijacking this game from, the Knights. I didn't want him being the person that ended up kind of stealing the final spotlight, and unfortunately he does. And Matt, the last thing you asked, why was it worse than Arkham Knight? I can tell you in a couple examples. The biggest one, dude, the fucking traversal across the map was absolutely terrible, Matt. So let's talk about that for a second, Matt, because the Batcycle, probably one of the worst vehicles to ever control in all of gaming.
Yeah, and that was just for me watching you play it and just kind of getting that like that I kind of got like the idea of what was going on. And I'm just like, this is not the same. I know a lot of people complained about the Batmobile and Arkham Knight, but this is like that, but so much worse. And then it didn't help because of the frame rate being as choppy as it was. And then I believe it was also you who said that you can like crash into another car and it would just like
there's no reaction.
Yeah, exactly. How are we doing, and why did they make this game exclusive to this gen and cancel the previous gen games when it did not change a thing? And it's like this game has such a feel of that it was originally intended to be a games as a service, and then I kind of made this comparison before, and I saw this the same opinion on Twitter, that this game started off as a games as a service type game, but when Avengers failed the way it did with the property as big as Avengers,
yeah.
I think that they kind of backed out of that, which is, you see that a lot with like this loot system, which thankfully it actually shows up on the character model. And I know you guys had a lot of glitches, so I want you to talk about those.
Well, at some point I was playing as Batgirl and I was inside Nightwing. Or I was inside Red Hood. I was just inside him. I don't know why. I was inside him, and that sounds so
I think
wrong.
You downloaded the wrong Gotham Knights.
The video has been posted too.
I hate everything. The worst part is Thacker pointed this out to me. You go back and watch that cutscene. There's 2 Red Hoods in the cutscene. There's 2 Red Hoods. Like, why are there 2 of you? Like, it's so bad. The Batcycle, the other thing is, dude, there's no aerial control, so if you go off a ramp, you can't control what direction you're going to go in from there. You just go straight. And again, I'm going to end this part of the list by saying this. Some people say that they canceled the last gen version just to make the game strictly next gen. I completely disagree. I think they canceled the next gen and gave us all the fucking last gen version. They really did. That's what I think. That is
everybody gets the Angry Joe copy.
They slapped the PS5 logo on there and said, "Yeah, we'll see about that. We don't. Well, who knows? Maybe we can fool them. Who's gonna know? They'll never know." We knew. Spoiler alert, we knew the whole time. So, yeah, Gotham Knights, not a good game. Just like our number 3 game was not a good game. Boys, do y'all remember? It was earlier in the year. It was a little bit colder outside than it is now. And we were already very oversaturated with games of the zombie genre. We were already very oversaturated with those. And then we got one of the worst examples of a good zombie game we've ever seen. And I said in that episode, this is going to go down as one of the worst games of the year. It made the top 3. Motherfuckers, it is Dying Light 2. Made it to the top 3, baby. Let's fucking go. A game that had a terrible protagonist, a terrible story, terrible gameplay, terrible performance, terrible across the board. It made it into the top 3, fellas.
Fuck that game.
Actually, the guns in Dying Light were great.
What guns?
Exactly.
Dying Light 1. Dying Light 1. We're not even. What guns in Dying Light 2 were there other than maybe the Doom gun that you get one time for an Easter egg? Kyle, what gun?
Exactly. There was no greatness.
This one did not.
That game was bad.
This game did not spark joy.
The only greatness in that game was seeing the glitches from Mario's double jump that you get, and even then,
I don't know. I think the only greatness was me hitting the uninstall button. I think that was the only bit of greatness. So, yeah,
my favorite part.
Here's the thing, man. The biggest issue I had with Dying Light 2 was that it didn't fix any issue from the first game. A lot of people talked about in the first game how the character models looked ugly and the gameplay kind of gets repetitive after a while, and it just kind of feels like you're doing just general fetch quests the entire time, and the voice acting's not great. It's all kind of the same thing. The villains are super generic. The twists are super obvious a mile away. It was all issues the first game had, but the difference is the first game was at least fun enough to where it hid those issues behind relatively solid parkour gameplay. And the parkour, when mixed with the combat, was where everything shined. Now, the problem is that in this game, none of that is the case. The combat feels like a couple steps back. The parkour feels like at least 1 or 2 steps back. And the performances are just as bland, just as boring, just as lackadaisical as ever. And it sucks because, Matt, me and you talked about this game a lot before it came out. We were excited about this game. We were looking forward to playing it a lot, me and you were.
Which is crazy because I actually missed out on the first Dying Light, but I heard a lot of good stuff about it. I had several friends who had put a lot of hours into it. It was like the original Dying Light and then the first Dead Island that everybody was talking about, like with this resurgence of zombie games, just like how Walking Dead had a resurgence of just like the zombie genre in general, and it was just everywhere. So I was super excited for this game, and a lot of it just fell flat for me. I can't recall any of the characters' names. I can't really recall a lot that happened, except I got chased a lot.
Yeah.
I honestly, and another thing is, like, this is a kind of open world game where there's just, in my opinion, there's too much going on.
Not enough focus, yeah.
I did appreciate that there was that curve of difficulty when it came to, when it's nighttime and more of the, I'm just going to call them freaks or something like that. Zombies, freaks come out, and they had specific ones that if you alerted them, you basically caused a horde to chase you.
Yep.
And I thought that was cool. I'm guessing that was probably in the original, so maybe it's not a complete.
I don't know. I don't think that it was in the original. There were zombies that only came out at night. I think they were called bolters, but they would chase you back to a hideout, but only one of them would chase you, unless you alerted others. So that was one thing they did change and they did add on to give them a little bit of credit.
Yeah, and then one thing Thacker mentioned here, and this honestly is kind of stupid, is like no matter from what height you jump, as long as there's a mattress that indicated with the blue X that this is somewhere you could land, I'm just like, that's so realistic. Why don't I just climb up on top of my roof, throw a mattress down, jump on that, and I'll be A-okay?
Well,
like
that was kind of another thing.
It's
like
the Assassin's Creed mechanic there.
Yeah, like it's the whole let me jump from this point of interest and land in a fucking hay bale and I'll survive. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
You're gonna fucking explode when you hit the ground. Hell no. Like, the other thing I hated in this game that was legitimately just bad was, and I feel like this is something I've said maybe a lot recently, mainly with Callisto Protocol and maybe a few other games, the checkpoint system was not good. It was not good. I got reset once about 18, 19 minutes worth of gameplay back, and I was fucking furious when it happened.
Yeah.
I was ready to quit the game and not play it. And the other problem is, and this is a big story thing, the ending is such a slap in the face because everything you do, you end up doing for nothing. Like, you have this point of saving somebody, and then you get to the end, and you can't even save them. And to me, that's just a gigantic waste of my time. So, just like Dying Light 2 is a waste of all of our times, we're going to go ahead and move on because we're into the top two. The top two is so fucking obvious. The top two is so fucking obvious. I said that between the number 1 and the number 2 spot, it was a difference of 1 point. Between the number 2 and number 3 spot, however, it was a difference of 7 points.
Damn.
Dying Light got 9 points. Our number 2 worst game got 16 points. And make no mistake, these top 2 games, either one of them had claim to the top spot. We just don't believe in ties around here. And we call it soccer. Fuck off, England. Anyways, fuck off, Iran. We call it soccer. Sent y'all asses packing too. Fuck all y'all. We sent y'all asses packing too. We don't care. Anyways, back to it. Number 2 on the list. I'm about to get mad. I'm getting mad just thinking about this game. I've built up enough anticipation though. Coming in at number 2 on our top 5 worst games of the years, it is Scorn.
Jimmy.
Scorn is number 2 on the list, and to be honest, it has a very good argument for number 1. So, I want to talk about where I ranked this game, because 2 people ranked Scorn as their least favorite game. 2 people did, and it was Kyle and Thacker.
Yep.
I originally said
Jimmy was the only saving point.
I originally said that Scorn was going to be my least favorite game. Now, I will go ahead and be honest about my list. My thinking kind of changed because as I thought about the games, I ended up ranking Scorn 3rd on my list. I ended up lowering it down to 3rd, and I can explain why. In my opinion, Saints Row and Gotham Knights, spoiler alert, LOL, they both had reasons. I say spoiler alert, we already all know what number fucking 1 on the list is now. We already know. It's not like it was fucking hidden. Anyways, like, those 2 games came with expectations, so I held it against them more that they were a little bit more egregious in certain areas than other games. I held that against them a little bit more that they had expectations. Scorn, meanwhile, I had 0 expectations for. So now, make no mistake, Scorn is one of the worst fucking games to ever be made. It is fucking terrible. Matt, I'm going to start with you, because you, I think in your list, you ranked it 3rd as well. You ranked Switch Sports 2nd, and we know what you ranked number 1, obviously, because you ranked the same number 1 as I did. But what was kind of the worst? You were the only one of the 4 of us to finish this game. Kyle didn't even fucking start it because of that audio bug. He didn't even start it. Me and Thacker fucked around with Lil Jimmy. That sounds bad out of context. That sounds
Good
bad.
old Jimmy.
That sounds bad out of context. Nobody's clipping that.
Bad to me.
But Matt, you finished the game. What was it about this game that didn't work the most for you?
The most this game had going for it was that it was free.
Enough said.
I completely understand the art style here. It's a very specific art style. Can't quite remember the name of it, but I looked it up on Google and I get it. So it's it's to the eye of the beholder. But I thought that this game was kind of ugly. I thought that a lot of the puzzles where literally they did not tell you what to do. It was so confusing. Like, everybody gets that first crane puzzle where you have to move like the eggs or whatever. And if you're going in this game not knowing like what to do, you're going to be wasting so much of your time that could be spent like, I don't know, playing Gotham Knights or Saints Row.
Oh my god. I think I'd rather die.
And the fact that they felt this need, like, this game would have probably just been a lot better as just like a puzzle walking sim where you're just taking in the scenery. But they decided to add some very awful combat where eventually you unlock weapons and the weapons don't really feel like that they have much of a like response. Like, I can barely even tell if I actually hit the enemy that I'm trying to shoot.
There were weapons in this game?
There were weapons in this game, surprisingly. There was basically like a shotgun type of weapon and all that. And like, the game was not like, it didn't perform too bad for me. I didn't really have any problems. I did have a couple crashes, 1 or 2. I still somehow got myself to beat this game. And then that's one of my other complaints is the ending to this game made it feel like everything that I did was for nothing. And like, these games that endless way is becoming way too many these days, where it's just like you sit there for so many hours so it's just playing a campaign and then you just get to the end and you beat the game and then it's like all, it just completely feels pointless. Like, why did I sit here and rack my brain, break a sweat, get aggravated that I kept walking in the same room over and over again because everything looks the same? Like, I got lost so many fucking times. I felt like I was in a funhouse mirror minus the mirrors.
We're gonna call this episode Matt's Rant of Scorn. We're gonna call this the Rant of Scorn.
But yeah, the ending is what really like made me mad. And as soon as I beat the game, and I got all the achievements. God, why did I do that?
Why?
Why?
I uninstalled the game. I was so done with it, and I'm glad that like I wasn't super hyped for it, so it wasn't like disappointing. It was just bad.
He gets 1 platinum, and Matt all of a sudden becomes the Platty Daddy. It's kind of funny. No! It's kind of funny. He gets one platinum before Kyle, and he's the Platty Daddy.
I will say, I miss Jimmy. That's the only part I miss.
Jimmy was the
I miss
only
Jimmy.
redeeming factor. He was the only
miss
redeeming
Jimmy.
factor. This game has very few to no redeeming factors, and Jimmy was one of them. So
And he's not even named in the game.
he's not even named. Like, that's not even his name. We just made that shit up. It's so dumb. Jimmy. Mr.
I miss you,
Beast.
Jimmy.
But, all right, you already know what number one is. Number one is Saints Row. So we all know why we hate this game. We all know why it didn't work for us. We have over an hour-long episode detailing it. But to sum it up in one word, Kyle, and then I'll go to you, Thacker. You two are the bigger Saints Row fans, and I feel like it's only fair to let you guys do a little bit more of the talking here. It's disappointing. It's really disappointing, and that's just kind of all there is to it.
Yeah, this game was so horrendous. And, I mean, outside of the fact that it performed like shit, it was broken, it was glitchy. The amount of cutscenes that just were so fucky with the character models and shit, and the co-op was bad. Every bit of this game performed like shit. And then you get to the writing, the characters,
These are my friends.
the storyline.
My friends.
My friends, they were fucking cringe. They were so awful. It was just, it was like some old dude was trying to write, what they thought young people sounded like, and it was so bad, dude. Kevin was the worst fucking character on the face of the planet. But from, playing the old Saints Row games to going to this is so tame compared to what Saints Row used to be. And that was why I think it flopped so hard, is because Saints Row has always been the goofier, wackier GTA clone.
Yep.
And it fully embraced the self-awareness, and it was always, just the wildest shit. And this game, I mean, GTA 5 was more wild and wacky than this game. This game was so basic and bland. I hated it.
Thacker, you were the other big fan of this game, or you were the other big fan of this franchise. Just where did this game miss the mark the most for you?
Where didn't it?
That's fair. Well, to be fair,
Where
Thacker, you
didn't
did.
it?
I am gonna hold you. You did call it fantastic on the review.
I did.
Damn.
I did. If I had a time machine, I'd go back and smack myself about 100,000 times for that.
That's fair.
One for each glitch in this game. But no, this game is. That's all I have. It was that bad. In
Yeah.
fact, I think it was so bad. I think Kyle actually, after this game flopped, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, you went back and started playing the old Saints Rows, didn't you?
I did, actually. I went back and started platinuming the old ones.
I don't care what I have any issues with Saints Row, Get Out of Hell, or any of the anything past 2. In my book now, and I'm on the record saying this, I take every negative thing I have ever said back about Saints Row 2, or sorry, Saints Row 3, 4, Get Out of Hell. I take all of that back because at least you weren't the Saints Row 2022.
The crazy thing is, I was really excited for this game, and Kyle can attest. I was actually really looking forward to it. I was excited to kind of get into this franchise for the first time. And there was nothing that really worked for me. The co-op made it a little bit of fun, mainly because we were able to do some wacky, stupid shit. KSI, boom, you killed Kev. Anyway, but outside of that, like, it ran horribly. The story wasn't good. The characters were poorly written. There just wasn't anything good. And then again, the glitches were really the worst part, because for the most part, like, Kyle, you couldn't even figure out how you were supposed to get to weapons that you needed for trophies. Like, the game was designed that poorly that it was almost hidden, like, where it was you could find these weapons. And I don't know. This game wasn't good. And I think we all said that we hope we don't see a sequel. But, I want to reiterate that I really hope we don't see a sequel.
Yeah.
Honestly, Rusty, Matt, I can't speak for Kyle, but I personally apologize for getting y'all's hopes up for this game.
Nah, it's not your fault, dude. It's the game's fault. The marketing of this game was really good. The marketing was really good. Like, it got everybody excited, man. It wasn't anything any of us did. We all were looking forward to this game, and we were all disappointed by it. So that is our top 5 worst games of the year. Just for a recap: number 5, Nintendo Switch Sports. Number 4, Gotham Shites. Number 3, Dying Light 2. Number 2, Scorn. And number 1 is Saints Row. Now, thank God, the next time we're going to get together to do one of these lists, it's our top 10 episodes of the year. Or top 10 episodes, top 10 games of the year. And let me just tell you, the top 5 of that game are all games that could win Game of the Year any other year. So that is going to be an unreal list. It's going to be a well over hour-long episode when we do that. We cannot wait for our 3rd Game of the Year episode in Side Mission's history. But for today, that is going to wrap us up. You can follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can follow us on Facebook and TikTok at Side Mission Podcast. Excuse me. For the boys, for Thacker, for Kyle, for Matt, I'm Rusty. Thanks for listening.